This program has been brought to you thanks to the generous contributions of our patrons on Patreon. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. And for more content like this, be sure to check out the Modern Alchemist channel on Patreon.
Greetings and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forest, the Modern Alchemist, and I'm here with my daughter Gabrielle Forest. And we're talking about movies that we watch. Our scope of movies that we watch are found on Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. So if you have any one of those streaming services, I'm sure you'll be able to watch one of these movies. Today we're going to talk about Extraction and Ghost in the Shell, the new version of Ghost in the Shell that's on Netflix.
I can't talk about Ghost in the Shell. I didn't watch much of it, and you'll hear why. Keep going, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I've watched almost all of it, and so I'll give you my sense of it, and you can tell me why you decided not to watch it. But both of us are Ghost in the Shell fans, so it'll be fun to hear what my daughter's impression is of the show. But first, we're going to talk about Extraction. This is the new Hemsworth movie. The screenplay is written by Russo, one of the Russo brothers. I forget which one. It's basically Thor John Wicking his way through Bangladesh. Is that where they're at? They're someplace in India.
I got more of a Jason Bourne vibe.
Kind of a hybrid between the two.
Or like Taken.
Yeah. So this, if
Jason Bourne needs Taken.
If you want to watch
of someone else's child,
a movie that involves, I guess the Taken thing works. It's kind of a hybrid of the two,
Jason
right?
Bourne meets Taken.
Jason Bourne meets Taken, where he's John Wicking the shit out of everybody. If you want to watch Hemsworth just cut through hundreds of faceless bad guys, that's the movie for you.
I wouldn't necessarily say John Wicking, though, because that's more like on the martial arts spectrum of the things. It's more like an Atomic Blonde, Jason Bourne kind of thing, because he's like clearly a military dude.
Okay, I'll give you that. Well, yeah, I'll give you that. Basically, big dude shooting lots of faceless people for the purpose of
making his way through a city with a package.
With the package, which is a kid who belongs to a crime boss, right?
Which they reveal to you in the first 5 minutes, so it's
so that's not a spoiler. We'll give you the spoiler warning here in a second, but he's working his way through the city. He's under the employ of a crime boss, and the goal of the movie is get the kid out. So that's it, and then that's the movie. That's the movie. That's the plot. There's really no significant character development anywhere. The cutscenes, the action scenes are pretty awesome. Well, Hemsworth doesn't go through an arc or anything.
Development. No. He goes through I'm too old for this shit. What's that movie?
The what? Lethal Weapon?
Yes, he goes through Lethal Weapon. Mel Brooks. Who's that guy?
What?
Mel Brooks playing the Lethal Weapon?
Not Mel Brooks, Mel Gibson.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
Mel Brooks is the director-comedian. The Spaceballs and...
Yeah, I gathered that now, Men in Tights. So Mel Gibson.
Yes.
Plays in Lethal Weapon. Who's his character?
Riggs.
Riggs.
He plays Riggs, right?
It's Riggs. Sean Riggs, right?
Something Riggs.
Who's
Martin Riggs. Martin Riggs.
No, who's the other guy?
That's Danny Glover.
Yeah, I know
Danny
that.
Glover, and he plays...
The actor, they forget the character.
That is the actor. Danny Glover.
I know the actor, I forget the character name.
I don't remember.
From Lethal Weapon?
Yeah, well, it's been years since I've watched a Lethal Weapon movie.
Okay, so in Philadelphia, who did Mac want to be?
He wanted to be Riggs.
He did.
Oh, Murtaugh.
That's it!
Go. That's right, because they did the whole blackface thing.
Rabbit hole of references.
It's a chain of association
Meta.
Okay, yeah, chain of association.
So, Riggs.
All right. So Riggs and Murtaugh.
Okay,
right?
So it's not Murtaugh, it's Riggs. He goes through a Riggs transition because he, Riggs has his long lost love that he is constantly...
This isn't spoiler talk, right?
Riggs?
No, this is what we're doing.
Everyone's seen Lethal Weapon.
Okay, yeah.
So this is what I'm just using Lethal Weapon to support my argument. That's all I'm saying. Is I feel that this character goes through more of a Riggs thing. Riggs goes through, he had lost his wife, and constantly you get this memory flashback with his wife.
Right, the fuzzy memory thing that they would do.
And then he comes to his character moment of, I want to say, closure. And they do it in their own ways, but that process of that cycle of grieving is the same kind of process of cycle of grieving you see with this character.
I'll let you have that, but I think it's a stretch. I think that's a bit of a stretch.
No,
I think we've seen everything in this movie.
We're yelling at each other. Do you think that's
no, that's good. No, that's good. I think we've seen everything in this movie.
Like, they can't hear us. We need to talk louder.
Well, anyway, they've seen everything in this movie before, I'm sure. Like, for instance, the idea of rescuing a child and then shooting a bunch of shit to get out, that's Aliens. That's Sigourney Weaver going into the thing and pulling her out.
If we get into the spoilers, I will be more specific with my example if you will not accept it.
All right. Well, first off, before we get to spoiler talk then, is this movie rewatchable? Would you watch it a second time?
I'm not like a huge fan on that kind of film in general. I don't really watch those things by myself for enjoyment. So if I watched it a second time, it'd be with a group of people for the sake of the experience, the shared experience. It's a movie that you experience. So sure, I'd watch it a second time with other people. Yeah, but not by myself. It's not one that I put on my shelf and be like, I'm in the mood for some war and some gangsters. If I'm in the mood for gangsters, I watch Guy Ritchie. Yeah.
Well, I would not watch it twice because I've seen this movie before, done probably better in at least half a dozen other movies that I can think of. I fell asleep a couple times. There was so much action in this movie.
It's really bad to say that.
There was so much action in this movie that I was just kind of like action overstimulation, and my body was like, oh my God, this is so boring. Because how much blowing up shit can you watch?
Yeah, what I'm recalling, and that's what my space look was for a moment there, is what I find funny about that is because I actually turned it on with my boyfriend. And because there was so much action, it kept me up, but it put him to sleep. So that's why I was like, would I watch it again? I'm like, he might want to see the end. So yeah, I'd watch it with other people. That's what my deducing was there. It was a very personal level. I didn't want to really dog on the movie in the sense that it wasn't a rewatchable story or a well put together project. And that's why I know I'd watch it again. But it's not like John Wick. I would watch John Wick multiple times. I'd be like, you want to watch it this morning and then later tonight?
Well, I feel for your boyfriend because I was out. I mean, there was a few times where I just kind of dozed for a moment and then I kind of would come back and I was like, oh man, they're still shooting shit. I'd look at my wife and she's just like, oh, this movie is just so loud and there are so many explosions. I'll give it to Hemsworth. He's a really physical actor. Like when he kicked people into walls or smashed them or just did a leg sweep, you'd feel the impact. The direction is great.
He didn't get his hammer back.
There's a lot of people that say that. Yeah, I've actually read that, where this is what Thor does when he's stuck with guns
without his hammer,
right? And so which then made me think of Karl Urban's role in Thor Ragnarok, right? Karl Urban played the guy who was the executioner. And so he had the two big guns.
Oh, okay.
This is Des and this is Troy. Yes. When I put them together, I destroy.
Yes. That would, yep.
And I was like, oh man, this is so like that person here. Like it felt like that. Okay, spoiler talk.
That he wished he had with him.
Shall we do some spoiler talk?
Yeah. So what I meant by that then is
so spoilers. You've been warned. There are spoilers coming. Okay, you've been warned.
I would just imagine you're going to put a slide.
Well, I'm going to do that too, but it helps to kind of do the whole spoiler
overkill
thing. Yeah, you're going to get to see all of this.
It goes to the theme of Extraction, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to edit anything. We're just going to have this whole just straight one shot.
Yeah. Anyway. So what I mean by the Riggs and the Riggs comparison is because you start out the movie with this like vague memory of this little boy on a beach, and you actually don't even know who it is. You just see like a very blurry outline of somebody. And then throughout the movie, as he ends up losing like his mana, you know, when his like energy level is going down.
His hit points are declining.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Throughout the movie, when he's starting to decline, you get a clearer and clearer image of that person. And then at the final end of the movie, right before he dies, you finally see the person. And they tell you this, you know...
So you think he died?
Well, come on now. They tell you this, like, very light overstory of the character that you're seeing in the flashbacks. So you kind of know that it's his son, but you don't get to see the person, so you don't know for sure. But with the comparison to, and granted, I haven't seen Lethal Weapon in a long time. That's probably why I didn't remember the names. But in reference to Lethal Weapon, you get a similar transition there, where it's like, oh, maybe I'm referring to more of the newer Lethal Weapon, because I remember they had flashbacks of his wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Or the Lethal Weapon series. And they made a big deal out of it in the Lethal Weapon series.
That's what I was, that's what I was thinking more of, I think, because I don't really remember so much of that in actual movies. But that aside, that's why I was giving the character a process of growth there. And because he gives up his mercenary ways of dropping the kid in the middle of the street, and where are they, like Mumbai or something? And
I had a hard time getting attached to anybody in this. Like I really, my give a shit meter was like, it's way down here. I was like, I couldn't care less. They had some dude, and this is when I stopped giving a shit. Okay, this is when it happened. Hemsworth does this great thing where he takes out this guy and he kicks him or something out of the street, and he's standing there in the street, and then a van hits him, and the van hits him so hard that he shoots across the street, and you see his body just kind of crumple on the ground, and he's done. And having been in that situation, nobody gets up after that. So he does this weird thing where he does a mana push and he's healed himself. And he gets up and he steals a truck. We don't see that, it's all off camera. Meanwhile, the Terminator dude that's fighting him, let me finish.
Okay.
Terminator dude that he's been fighting with, it's another gang assassin who's basically been told, if you don't get my son back, I'm going to kill your boy. That was his motivation. So he's got a clear, obvious motivation. Everyone can get on board with him saving the boy. And basically everyone's trying to get the boy back to where he belongs. And Hemsworth is determined to do it himself until at the end of the movie he decides to team up with this guy. But this guy, Hemsworth hits him with the truck within 30 seconds
No, it
of
was
that.
the little boy that hit him with the truck.
No, Hemsworth was driving.
Oh. Okay.
He was driving the truck and he hits him so hard, the guy flies straight across the ground.
I'm sure it's the little boy that hit him with the
No,
truck.
because he can't reach the pedals.
I'm pretty positive it was the little boy that hit him with the truck.
Hemsworth.
He's 14 years old. He can reach the pedals.
But he was being captured by the other guy.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, and Hemsworth got into the truck.
You can pull it up. You can pull it up. But I wasn't the one falling asleep during this movie.
Okay, well, I was wide awake.
From the guy that was his former caregiver.
Fine.
He pulls his wrist away, and that's when Hemsworth. That's when Hemsworth is like fighting with him and stuff. They get hit by a car or whatever, and then he gets up, and the other guy gets hit by a car, and the little boy gets out of the car.
And yeah, but it's because they're in India and they're driving on the other side of the wheel.
Just let it play out.
No, this is before, so we got to back this up now. This is them running away in the truck. So he's fighting this dude, right? Okay, so they're getting this whole fight, and this is Hemsworth. This is a great fight, and Hemsworth is like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you," and he takes the knife away from him and throws it on the ground, and he's cut and big front kick, and now he's all triumphant right here, right? So boom, and then this car hits him, this blue car, and he crumples up into this little nothing. And the other guy is getting up, and he's all like, "Oh, my stomach hurts from the front kick."
He actually crumpled up into little nothing, and he actually didn't get hit that hard.
It seemed like he got hit. No one looked, and he's
that
like,
hard.
"Oh, you cut my
Not
arm."
nearly by comparison to what this guy's about to experience.
My point exactly, but it's not the kid driving. Wait for it. Wait for it. He's going to get up. He's all like, "I got to put myself together, and I'm going to get up here, and I'm going to look around now. Where'd he go? I don't know. He's gone. Which way did he go? Which way did he go?" And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like how did this truck even get there? Because there's a car that's stuck in the street, and he's off collecting the boy, so the boy is right there. There's no way he could be driving the car to hit the guy who just got him.
No, this is plenty of time for him to...
No. He doesn't leave this guy's
car.
custody. Just wait for it.
No, I know, but this is plenty of time for someone to get hit by a car.
And
Or like
then
it was a split
here
second.
it comes, and
There's
he's
plenty
all
of
like,
time
"I'm
here."
limping." Boom. See, Hemsworth. How does he get up from that?
There's plenty of time here. And he
See?
didn't get up from that right away. There's still plenty of
See,
time
and
here.
here's the reaction shot, and Hemsworth is in the car. "Come with me if you want to live."
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
he was
but there's
driving.
still plenty of time here. So
but I'm
what
just
was
saying-
your original problem?
My problem was he was hit by a car.
Okay, they were both hit by cars.
That's the end of movie. Roll credits.
And this is where I was like, hold on, let me stop you.
See, but I just showed
so
you the
you
boy
have a
was
problem
not.
with him getting hit by a car, but when I said he dies at the end, you say, you think he died?
Well, no, because I thought he died
So-
too. I'm with you. I think he dies at the end. But Mom, my wife, she was all like, no, because they established that he has this deep breathing technique where he can sit under the water forever. And they did that at the beginning, where he does this huge dive off a cliff and then he's meditating under the water forever. And he's got this tattoo on his neck that in the water it looks like little gills. So he got shot at the end of the movie right here in his neck, and then he falls off the bridge into the Ganges River. And that's the last you see of him.
And then they do the glimmer at the end. So I think that it was intentional on the director's part to try to give everyone the ending that they want.
Well,
And the reason why I say that is because some could look at I didn't make the association with the gills thing. It was like maybe I want to say 1 o'clock in the morning when we were watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very much laying down, kind of just enjoying yourselves. You're not in an analytical mindset, which is part of why he fell asleep. With that being said, if that is true, then I would make the connection that him getting shot in the neck through his gills would be a clear indicator that he did die. Because had he not been shot through his gills, he'd have the ability to use whatever superpower.
he's loaded with superpowers.
You know what I mean? But no, it's almost like it's like a visual metaphor, if you will, by putting the gills there. So it's like this is the hero before in their pristine and fine state. This is the hero, as they are fallen.
And at the end of the movie, they give you a whole bunch of these little cuts where they're teasing you. Like the boy gets in the swimming pool, and he's in the deep end of the pool, and he's like feeling. He's like, I can feel Hemsworth is around me somewhere, and he's looking around and he can't see him. And there's all these like little teasers, like maybe associating water with Hemsworth, and maybe he's going to show up.
It also could be like a little bait at a sequel, because how you could make that work in a sequel is you'd have a cut to where we left it. And for all we know, because it was a mercenary army, there's a bunch of people under the water waiting for him as a precaution. Mercenary people, they don't just function on, here's our plan A, because it's going to work.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, we have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. They're ready for those at any given moment. So if you wanted to make a sequel, that's how you possibly end up, making that scenario work. And that's why you'd have him there. Because if you had an immediate, and that's what I was like, no, that's so lame, because had he gotten on the helicopter and you had an immediate response team, they're like super trained first aid people, with the given opportunity that these people have actually, because as you experience, conditioning, if you will, there's a reason why, people in China have you punching trees or whatever they do for their Hong Kong training. I know it's like super intense by comparison to America. It is not like, let's put mats on the ground and give you full gear. It's like, let me kick you for 8 hours.
Yeah, but see, now you're doing Russo's work for him. You're writing more screenplays
I'm
than
telling
we had
you why
in the movie.
what was in the movie would work for those characters. This is part of the understanding of what a mercenary character is. If you don't understand what these characters are, then you can't understand the implications of their characters. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think
So because they're
I think he
evolutionary, I
died.
can deduce
I think he died
that
at the
they're,
end.
plan A, plan B, plan C. I think he also died at the end because those are non-recoverable wounds without immediate treatment. And even then, it looked like it went through the artery, and if it went
Shot
through the artery, you're
throat.
done.
Now, the Ganges River is notorious for being a cesspool of pollution.
That's totally, another reason.
And so you drop a human being into that pool of pollution, and
That is one thing I
he's
thought about
bleeding
multiple
from the
times.
neck,
Because
and
you
he's
know
been
what?
shot,
No
and he's been
matter
hit by a car.
how much conditioning you have, you cannot fight bacteria with conditioning.
By the way, wash your hands.
Yeah, 6 feet. We don't have the camera ability to have 6 feet right now. Sorry, guys. Family. Duh. This is our quarantine group. But anyway, that's something I thought about regularly through the movie is like when they're in the sewers and he's cut up.
Oh, the sewers! That was just...
And he's cut up. That is when I started going, it doesn't matter how good your writing is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how, what level of character you are rolling. This person is going to die of bacterial infection.
Yeah, he's going to have sepsis or something. Like, he was
know
hurt.
what I mean?
When he went into the sewer,
And
he
those
was
things can happen
so
within
hurt.
hours.
He was so hurt. Like, all I could think of was, where's the baxitracin and the penicillin and the
I'm thinking he has all these open cuts, wounds, shots, whatever at the time, and he's walking through the sewer, commenting on how it's the worst foul-smelling sewer, and that's a terrible sentence, but it's fine, that he's ever been in. So that means that the bacteria level of that sewer is top-notch, at the top, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so... It takes probably,
And he has his feet just kind of, he's literally cooling his heels in the sewer.
Right.
He's got his shoes in the sewer.
And it takes 16 hours for a viral infection on average to give you symptoms. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's number. So we're talking bacteria and all of these open wounds. It took him at least 10 hours from the time in which he was in that sewer to at least the end of the movie. We should have seen a swollen arm. We should have seen a swollen face.
Just some horrible
his little
redness
love interest
everywhere.
should have been like, oh dear, your face is falling off. Do you have leprosy? You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, let me help you.
Well, for me...
So that's the killer there for me.
I did not think the movie was rewatchable. I found the abundance of action sequences... I don't mind a good action sequence, but when it's just like this... When it's unrealistic, when I really have to conscientiously suspend disbelief, that happened right after the car things. When the guys were hit and then they're getting up. And I hate that because, I've been injured myself multiple times, and I know that actual human beings, when they're struck by a vehicle, that's it. You're done. You're just done for a while. You're not going to get right back up. I don't care how much training you have. You have ligaments and tendons.
We saw them popping pills, let's be frank. First of all,
well, you can kill the pain, but
those Arnie pills, we don't know what's in those pills.
Okay, fine. So he has super pills and super recovery powers.
We'll give the Army the benefit of the doubt of conspiracy. So with that being said, they were very kind to us by making them super bruised up and keeping that consistent through the movie. No matter how much they got beat up, they continued to get bruised up in their makeup. So that worked.
And they continued to have bruises.
Yeah, that worked. It wasn't like, we just beat the
and they
shit out
looked
of this
fatigued.
person.
By the time Hemsworth was done,
golden.
He was a big red stain because he just had his blood and their blood everywhere. His face was all gouged up.
I think the only maybe valuable piece for this kind of movie is if you actually did want to get into the hero's journey and analyzing the metaphor of that transition of bathing through blood to the end.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I guess.
That's probably
I feel that's a stretch.
No, it's not. More often than not, when you are presented with a movie that isn't necessarily appeasing on a fan level, it does have its purpose on a analytical level, and that's why you have these channels like Wisecracked pulling up these movies that you are like, what? I never even heard about Jim Carrey and this girl doing this video about erasing their memory of each other. What? And now I need to go watch that. And then you're watching it and you're like, wow, this really is a bad movie. You know what I mean? So
the
they
eternal
do have
sunshine of the something mind.
Yeah, they do have their purposes. We can't all have a sixth day, okay? It can't be freaking awesome action, great metaphor, and story. Okay, thank you, Arnold. We love you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I would give this movie, because it's a straightforward action flick and it doesn't advertise itself, I mean, it's exactly what it says on the tin. This is it. It's going to be shooting and action,
Okay,
and
so
you get to watch Hemsworth kick people's butts really hard because he kicks hard.
Yeah, for sure.
He kicks
So
hard.
we'll re-rate it if you're able to edit out the other one anyway.
No,
We'll re-rate it. Would you watch it again?
yeah, I wouldn't. There's no way I'd watch this again.
I wouldn't watch it again either. But
it's
out of
not
5
rewatchable.
stars, out of 5 stars, how many would you give it?
I get 2.5. 2.5 Hemsworths.
I was gonna say 3.5.
Really?
Yeah, it had the production value.
So between the two of us, that's 3 stars. 3 Hemsworths for the movie. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045, which
I didn't
is
watch
like
this
the
one.
longest
This will be a
title.
quick conversation.
So
maybe.
I'm going to give you just my own input on this.
Okay, go ahead.
So the setup for this is they do a CinemaSins thing where they have you read a lot. There's just a lot of reading at the beginning, which sets you up for all the things that have happened. The world is no longer really governmentally operated. It's run by mega corporations that then are applying pressure to various governments to basically act out their will, to enforce what they want. You have 4 central governments still: the China, the USSR, America, and Japan, I guess. I can't remember the 4th one. Maybe it's Japan.
I think it'd have to be
Japan has to
because it's
figure.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, it's Ghost in the Shell, so it's probably Japan. Anyway,
Unless it was re-merchandised recently.
and these governments are being, like I said, controlled by larger corporate interests. And the corporations have created a thing called sustainable war, or sustainability in war. And it began with corporate espionage, and then it deteriorates because when you start losing, people start shooting bullets, because that's the way that works. And so you have these special teams, and our heroes from Section 9, if you followed Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Season 1 and 2, which are amazing, absolutely rewatchable multiple times, 5 out of 5 stars. They're
100%.
brilliant, philosophical, and by the way, always watch the Tachikomas on the Standalone Complex Season 1 and 2 at the very end with the credits, because they give you some existential stuff that is amazing. This is missing all of that. It's missing all of that. It's funny because Major Kusanagi is still running her team, and they're called the Ghost Patrol, right, or something like that. And they're righting wrongs in South and Central America and around the world, defeating bad people and bad things. And so it begins with them kind of doing one of these operations, and then they find out that operation actually is being controlled by a larger corporate interest. Surprise! And so from that point, the story, it takes a few episodes actually for the story to pick up.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, it does.
Okay.
It takes at least 3 episodes for you. They're only like 24 minutes long. So,
Yeah.
but it takes a good 3 episodes, 4 episodes for them to really reveal to you who all the bad guys are. And up until then, and this is, there's so many things that get in the way of this being really good writing. Now, traditionally, Ghost in the Shell is notorious for exposition, and they usually do this really clever thing where you're like part of the team, and they have a debriefing. So everyone's gone out, and a lot of them off screen are solving problems, and then they come back and they say, this is what we discovered. And you might have 10, 15 minutes sometimes of them just laying it out for you. Or at least it feels that way. Now this is true with the original Standalone Complex Seasons 1 and 2, which also has a completely different animation style that I prefer. I had a problem with the animation style. I wasn't really into it. They had that kind of blocky 3D sort of looking animation that they highlight in the opening credits of the Ghost in the Shell Season 1 and 2, but then they switch back to the hand-drawn stuff in the original one. In this one, it's all kind of CGI stuff, and so sometimes it looks amazing, and it looks kind of like a stylized actual people in the lighting, because the lighting's just right. It kind of looks right. And other times, and especially like car chases and things like that, it looks more realistic. Other times, not so much. But I have also not finished the series. I'm still working my way through it. Clearly, it requires you to read through the whole thing.
Which is why I thought it was rude. And that's where I'll interject. So I get your text message while I'm, doing my trigonometry homework. And you will say, hey, if you can binge watch this whole show, by like tomorrow, we can talk about it. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I don't have that kind of free time. And I can't even, I'm at the point in my homework, I can't run things in the background. I need to be, in it. So I'm like, okay, when I do my psychology homework, that's when I'll put Ghost in the Shell on. So I put it on, and immediately, it's like some rap video. I'm like, what is happening? You cannot beat the level of quality that is given in the Inner Universe song that they use in Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Oh yeah, the music and that.
How all-inclusive it is. It has literally 5 languages in that one song. And it hits this core center with you where you're like, I am the Ghost in the Shell. And then it starts, and you're like, I am the Ghost in the Shell, and you're watching this whole story, and you're resonating with the characters. They mean something to you, and even though the Tachikomas have been the most annoying voice in the world, you love them. They're super cute, and they always have something that you're like, to say. So you just can't beat it. And unfortunately, I went into Ghost in the Shell this time with the same level of expectation, and I hear a rap song, and I'm looking over at it, and I'm like, this isn't a Japanese show.
Yeah.
What is happening? So I start skimming through all of what I thought was the credits, but apparently was the introduction to the story.
Yeah, lots of reading.
So I didn't get to read what the story was about, because I was just like, oh, if there's letters in the middle of the screen, this must be credits. So I go all the way to the point where she's getting out of the car. And I'm like, what kind of Lego video game animation am I watching? And this isn't for adults. This is for 2-year-olds. My niece would watch this and be like, oh, this is very entertaining. So then I was like, okay, the story must be good. And we're into maybe 3 minutes now. She hasn't said a word. Okay, she's just getting out, throwing stuff, farting, spitting, whatever she's doing. Okay, so you're a person? Oh, she chugs something. Drinks, burps. That's what she does.
It's a beer. She had a beer.
It's weird. I'm like, we don't ever see this in, again, standalone. I'm making all the wrong, connections because I'm comparing a masterpiece to whatever Netflix is trying to do. And then she starts talking. And that's when I realized my dad asked me to read for roughly 3 hours. Before coming to see him, and I'm like, I don't have that time. So,
yeah, and it is a bit fatiguing because the dialogue is so quick.
Yeah,
I literally was having to back it up 10 seconds at a time so I could reread what it was they were saying. And usually that's always happening during periods when they're trying to give you some exposition, trying to explain what the story is about, what the villains are about. So it does get a little tedious there.
There's no dub option, so you can't leave it in the background.
I wish that they had done what they did with the previous Ghost in the Shell series, the Arise series. Did you ever watch any of that?
I want to say that was... Oh, no, I didn't see that one.
Okay, yeah. There's another series called Ghost in the Shell Arise, and this is prequel to the standalone complex kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
I thought you were
she's younger.
To the original movie.
Yeah, no. This is all that series is prequel, and there's a whole series of movies that cover that. It's not really episodal; it's a movie thing.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything Ghost in the Shell that's not truly with the franchise of Ghost in the Shell, and I think breaking from that model might destroy the story.
Well, this current one is.
It sounded like a great story.
It's not horrible.
I would watch, but I just can't handle the animation. And when you're
the animation's hard on the eyes sometimes. Yeah.
I didn't get far enough to see anything that was realistic. It just was weird.
Yeah. The animation's a little hard on the eyes sometimes, at least in my opinion. There are points when it's really well done, and then there are other points where you're just kind of like, oh, this isn't really great. I haven't finished it, so I can't really spoil anything for anyone. Like I said, I've gotten probably 75% through.
Intro.
But So far, I would say that its rewatchability for me is on the low end. Like, I
wouldn't
probably would not rewatch this. I want to
wouldn't
finish
watch it with
it to
people.
see what it's like at the end, but I'm not really going to rewatch it. So
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch it with people.
you wouldn't watch it with people.
No.
Everyone's going to be really tired from all the speed reading that they have to do in the show.
Yeah, or you
So-
designate someone to read it all out loud.
Oh God.
Hopefully they do separate voices so you know who's talking. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's so terrible.
Anyhow.
All right. Well, so that's a wrap.
Oh, is it? Okay, I
That's
thought
it.
you wanted to talk about Sabrina.
Oh, that we'll cover that in the next
Okay.
episode. Yeah, we're gonna the next episode we're gonna talk about more Netflix shows. I'd like to talk about Sabrina, the new rebooted Sabrina Teenage Witch. You've watched everything of that, right? Yeah. Okay, good. And,
That's a good one.
and have you watched The Order
Um,
yet? No.
The Order. Remind me again.
It's the Order of the Blue Rose. So the Blue Rose. You know, the kid, werewolves versus blood magicians.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so that's another one we'll talk about later is when you get a chance to watch it,
If I want to.
if you watch it. So anyway,
Yeah.
so let us know what you think in the comments section below, please. If you like this kind of stuff, if there are movies or shows that you'd like us to watch. We commit to watch anything for 15 minutes, and then that's it. If it's really
I'm
good,
alone,
we'll keep
it's only
watching.
5. You're only getting 5. If I'm by myself, you're only getting 5.
Oh my gosh, well 5 minutes isn't quite enough.
Hey, hook, line, and sinker.
15 minutes, that gets you through at least a good setup on the first act of whatever. So,
Yeah, hook, line, and sinker.
oh my goodness.
If
So
I'm
she's a hard
alone-
sell.
Yeah. If I'm watching it with other people, I'll give it 15 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Something about their entertainment value increases my entertainment value. I don't know.
And of course we'll watch anything including horrible movies, because sometimes a really bad movie can
Yeah.
do that tipping point where
where
it's
they're good
so horrible that it's actually good again.
For sure.
So if you know any of those kind of movies,
You know what's so
I
awesome?
dig
think
those.
Monty Python nailed that it's so horrible, it's awesome. Every one of their productions, it's like low value production, but it's just so good. And then at the same time, you're like, hold on, this seems low value, but how did they afford those costumes? They had to have a budget. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway. Like Life of Brian, they had to have a budget, but like there's something about it where it hits that. Anyway, I love Life of Brian.
Well, thank you everyone for hanging out with us for some time while we talked about movies. My name is Aubrey Forest, the Modern Alchemist, and this is my daughter, Gabrielle Forest, and we'll be talking to you guys real soon.